Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. I hope you are having a good week. Quick shout out to my newest patrons, Victor, Todd, and Tyros5 Editing. Greatly appreciate your support. First up, I would like to address two comments that were made from yesterday's video about Elon's comments to Bernie Sanders. So first up, Paul said, when a bully wants to take your lunch money, you can roll over or stand up to them. Elon is fighting back the only way he can, and that is by calling them out and showing what this unrealized gain tax will do. So first of all, I do not want to be misinterpreted, as yesterday I did say that I'm not advocating Elon just lays down and acts like a doormat. Him fighting back and standing up for what he believes in is absolutely fine and probably warranted in this situation. The problem is how he went about doing it. In my humble opinion, a tweet that just says, "I keep forgetting you're still alive," does not accomplish any of these goals. What I was trying to communicate is that the way Elon went about standing up for himself, as some are defending him, just saying that he forgets Bernie Sanders is alive, I personally don't see what good that does. It's not explaining what he's trying to do to make the situation better. It's not explaining how he's selling so much Tesla stock to pay his fair share of taxes, to show people that he's willing to pay his fair share and that he does. It was really just an empty comment when he could have used that opportunity to talk about what he's doing to do the right thing and build up a bunch of goodwill for him and Tesla, but he chose this route instead. And next up from Rob Baker, I believe Elon selling direct is a good thing, basically selling on the open market. If Elon did a secondary offering, which we're going to talk about more today, it would only benefit the institutions, not retail investors. Thank you, Elon, for giving retail investors the opportunity to buy and hodl the dip. And I wanted to get this thought out there because I do believe it's within the realm of possibilities for Elon's intentions doing the stock sale this way. So Rob Baker, well done. Thank you for sharing. And Elon continued commenting on that thread with Bernie Sanders. Michael said, no, Elon's saying, I just paid a shirtload of taxes. I don't care. I'm not doing this for money. Still not convinced? I'll pay more. Get off my case. But it seems to have backfired a little. Elon said, exactly. Then Elon, how long are you going to spend on this thread? And Elon said, I like to dig my grave real deep. So look, overall, I obviously love Elon's humor. I love that he's edgy and speaks his mind and all of that. I just think he made a slight misstep, and in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal. Just my opinion. Let's move on. The retail sales economic data came out this morning. We mentioned it yesterday, so the numbers were very strong. Consumers seem to be still spending despite the inflation concerns. Walmart and Home Depot reported earnings. They were both positive, beat expectations, and these numbers are very important for the overall market because typically consumer spending makes up about 2/3 of GDP, a number many economists are watching, and so far today the market is responding positively as one would expect. Michael Edward on Twitter said, hearing a rumor circulating that Elon might sell his remaining Tesla shares in a direct secondary rather than the open market, which we talked about yesterday. Seeing short covering as the extra multi-billion-dollar supply is potentially taken off the table. If you'd like to hear more about a secondary offering, catch yesterday's video. This is kind of a tale of two stories. On one hand, if Elon does do a secondary offering, it will shorten or compress the time frame for selling. It'll be directly to institutions at a fixed price, so it should hold the price of Tesla up in the short term. Whereas if he continues selling on the open market, it will presumably continue to give short sellers the option to buy weekly puts that will continue to drive the price down more than it otherwise would need to be driven down. But the flip side of that is then yes, retail has the opportunity to buy those shares at a discount, which may be something that Elon is looking to do. Either way, this is just a rumor, but if you're somebody that in the short term would like the Tesla stock price buoyed and to remove some of that extra downward pressure on the stock price, a direct secondary offering would be the superior alternative. Next up, JP Morgan and Tesla might go head to head in a legal battle as JP Morgan is suing Tesla for $162 million over a stock warrant dispute. The first thing that should stick out to you is that JP Morgan, one of the biggest banks on the planet, is going to go after Tesla for $162 million, an incredibly small amount when you factor in the size of JP Morgan. But let's hear what they have to say. But first, what is a warrant? Well, let's pretend I'm JP Morgan and I own 100 warrants for Tesla stock. This gives me the option to exercise these warrants at a certain strike price in the future for a set number of shares. So I have 100 warrants with a strike price of $100. Now Tesla stock price goes to $500. I now have the option to have Tesla give me 100 shares of Tesla stock for $100 per share, which would be $400 cheaper than the market price of Tesla. And yes, there are some differences between warrants and options. We don't need to get into the detail now, but as mentioned, warrants are typically dilutive, meaning if the company, say JP Morgan, were to exercise those warrants, Tesla would issue new shares to give to JP Morgan. But the problem here is that JP Morgan changed the strike price, which they said they had the right to do. Based on when Elon tweeted about taking Tesla private, they said that was a material change in the company, which would have given them the right to change the strike price. JP Morgan bought the warrants from Tesla in 2014 to help Tesla mitigate the risk that its stock would be diluted by issuance of convertible notes and to make certain federal income tax deductions, according to a complaint filed Monday in a Manhattan federal court. When the warrants expired, Tesla would owe JP Morgan a payment of shares or cash if its stock traded above a certain strike price. JP Morgan claims it had the discretion to adjust the strike price based on factors including the volatility of Tesla stock. The bank made 2 modifications in August 2018, one after Elon tweeted he had secured funding, and another when he then abandoned that effort weeks later. Tesla wrote JP Morgan in February 2019 to argue the adjustments the bank made 6 months earlier were unreasonably swift and represented an opportunistic attempt to take advantage of changes in volatility in Tesla's stock. So, as mentioned, this is not really a big deal. It's $162 million. Nothing major here, but we have to keep in mind that JP Morgan has historically been incredibly and laughably bearish when it comes to Tesla stock. Late last year, when Tesla was trading around $650 per share, their analysts were calling that Tesla was dramatically overvalued, and today here we sit $1,000 per share even after this recent pullback. But moving on, Pete Buttigieg, the Department of Transportation Secretary, is going to be stepping into the limelight here as he will basically have the final say for allocating these new funds in the infrastructure bill. So let's take a quick listen to what he had to say, and he also had some comments on Tesla.
The moment the ink is dry from the president's pen later today, we're going to be getting to work making sure that the American people see the most possible impact from these dollars. That means making sure that they go to worthy projects, making sure there's imagination and creativity in how to apply them in ways that are going to benefit the country for the next 50 years and beyond. And of course, a high degree of accountability and responsibility, because these are a lot of taxpayer dollars. In practical terms, part of that means routing new dollars through old plumbing, so to speak. So we already have excellent, well-established programs and machinery, so to speak, from formulas to discretionary programs that lay out what we as a department are looking for when communities say, hey, I want to make a safety improvement to the streets in this city, or we have a need to make an improvement at this airport. We have mechanisms for doing that. Now we have much more to do it with. So for example, on a recent discretionary grant program where we have to select proposals from around the country, there were about $1 billion of funding to work with and about $10 billion of compelling applications. That's going to increase a great deal and allow us to flow more dollars through those existing programs. But we also have to stand up whole new programs, dozens of them, in order to meet new policy objectives set out by this infrastructure deal. And that's where our department is going to be gearing up, staffing up, and getting ready for the months and years ahead. Look, it's very clear that the future of the automotive sector is electric. The real things that are in question, I think, are 3 things. 1, does it happen fast enough to meet our climate goals? 2, does it happen with American workers and American companies on American soil as much as possible and create as much opportunity as we can here at home? And 3rd, is it available to everybody? If you think about it, the Americans who stand to gain the most by going electric, saving all that gas money, are often low-income Americans who have a hard time getting that sticker price put together for one of those electric vehicles that could save them so much if they could afford it. That's why the Build Back Better agenda, the piece still working its way through Congress, includes discounts of up to $12,500 to help a family acquire one of those vehicles, while the bill we just passed gives us the funds to build up that charging network so that nobody has to think twice about whether they can get to where they need to be. We see this accelerating. We see this really defining the industry in so many ways. Again, the momentum is already there, but those issues of affordability and having it happen here in America, that doesn't happen on its own. That's why it's a policy priority too.
Next up, in a shocking turn of events, we have Edmunds, who has historically also been very bearish and anti-Tesla, now having some praise for the Model Y, specifically when compared to the Mach E.
We noticed that the Mach E GT was losing power at the tail end of its acceleration runs. Then it was having trouble putting down power out of certain corners, and then it was struggling to get power all over the track. So what gives? Well, it's because the Mach E GT only ever gets 5 consecutive seconds of full power, that's according to Ford, in order to preserve the battery life. Unfortunately, that makes the Mach E GT really disappointing to drive after a while, if you're trying to go fast, or even just have a little fun on a track.
Next up, Elon was asked, any update on superchargers planned for LA? I have to wait in line every week in Santa Monica. Elon said, we are waiting for permit approval from Santa Monica. And after Michael Burry had some negative comments about Tesla, surprise, surprise, Elon said, Burry is a broken clock. This is the type of witty humor and edgy comment from Elon that I can support and I do like, because it actually has some sort of meaning and it doesn't bring life or death into the equation in any way. Because yes, even a broken clock is right at least 2 times per day. And I love this tweet from Tom Nash. He said, congrats to Michael Burry. The man predicted 6 of the last 0 crashes. Pretty good stuff. Shifting to Giga Berlin, it got 2 more early approvals before the next round of repetition talks. Another round of discussions is scheduled to start today or Tuesday. Berlin's latest set of preliminary permits now allow Tesla to construct more parts of the factory's wastewater pretreatment plant and install technical equipment in the central supply and disposal building. Tesla can continue operational tests at Berlin to check the reliability of systems it has already set up in the foundry and paint shop, and the next round of Giga Berlin discussion is expected to last until November 22nd this year, another 6 days. And just briefly here, Tesla did upload a new Form 4. Yes, Elon sold more shares, 934,000 to be exact. This was yesterday. To date, he sold about 7.2 million shares, and that's about 43% of the way to that 17 million share sale goal that has been discussed on social media. That would be the 10% Elon had discussed. Back to Giga Berlin, it officially opened a highway exit just this afternoon. The new road is only a temporary solution, and in a few years, a new interchange will be built to connect the A10 and several other facilities in the area. Tesla built this road with permission from the authorities because, according to the current status, the larger public utility exit will not be completed until 2026 at the earliest. Next up, we have Tesla in-car map with multiple waypoints and route selection potentially coming to the US. Here we have a screenshot from a Tesla China vehicle, as you can see. So after you select the destination, the navigation will display up to 3 routes. The fastest route will be selected by default. There will be a delay at the start of navigation to wait for your selection. After the navigation starts, if the vehicle is in park mode, you can reselect the route on an overview map. So this could bring with it some great features in addition to the new waypoint feature where you can add a stop on your trip. Now potentially having the selection of different routes. It could be a highway route, it could be a backroads route, it could be the most efficient route or the fastest route. As you can see, setting us up for more optionality is a great thing. Also shared on Reddit was this image of tiered pricing on pay per minute superchargers based off of kilowatt hour speeds. This is in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, where legally I believe they cannot actually resell power. So in this case, they have to do a workaround where they're essentially selling time. And as you can see, here are the rates. This is an old and archaic law that will hopefully be changed sometime in the near future, so then Tesla can just charge per kilowatt hour used. Next up today, I wanted to do a quick update on SpaceX and Starlink. They have some really exciting things going on. We haven't touched on Starlink in a while here. I'm definitely going to start working them in more periodically, but first thing today, there may be a Starlink transfer program coming, which could give users on the waiting list access to Starlink sooner. I want to give a shout out to Ellie in Space. She has a great channel. She's a very fun presenter, and take a listen to her video as she dug this up from Reddit.
So this user from Ontario, Canada messaged Starlink to ask how he can sell his Dishy and transfer ownership. Support wrote him back, and they say that they are just beginning to accept ownership transfers now. So obviously, this is pretty big news.
And to bring you up to speed, SpaceX said last week that Starlink now has about 140,000 users in 20 countries. That's up from 100,000 users in 14 countries as of August. So in basically 2.5 months, September, October, and part of November, they have increased their users by 40,000, which is 40% of the entire user base that existed to date. And this tweet from Elon is such a big deal. It's going to make the speed and latency of Starlink so much better over time. Have a listen. Inter-satellite laser communications means that Starlink can carry data at the speed of light in a vacuum all around the Earth before touching the ground. Basically, the satellites can communicate with each other rather than having to bounce up and down. Over time, some amount of communication can simply be from one user terminal to another without touching the internet. And yes, if you're not familiar, the user terminal is the new rectangular design that you install at your house or your residence. And speaking of that new rectangular user terminal, it's now coming with a router that does not have an Ethernet port, which is definitely a bummer. If you want Ethernet or wired access to your computer or whatever other device, you're going to have to buy an adapter to have that functionality. There are, of course, other benefits with this new design. It's lighter, it's easier to mount, it has more mounting options, and it will presumably drive the cost of manufacturing down because remember, Starlink is actually losing money for every user terminal that it sells. It still costs $500, but as far as we know, it still costs more than that. It used to be $1,500. Now with the new design, maybe it's closer to $1,000. That's just speculation on my part. And if you missed it, the last Falcon 9 launch that deployed 53 new satellites into LEO had some incredible pictures and video taken of the launch. So here is one image that I thought was awesome. And here we had some more from the takeoff. Just absolutely beautiful, beautiful images taken. Probably one of the coolest launches I've personally ever seen. But moving on, a couple of quick items. McLaren has now denied that they were sold to Audi. This rumor was going around the last few days, but McLaren made this statement. They're aware of the news media report stating it's been sold to Audi. This is wholly inaccurate, and McLaren is seeking to have the story removed. McLaren's technology strategy has always involved ongoing discussions and collaboration with relevant partners and suppliers, including other car makers. However, there has been no change in the ownership structure of the McLaren group. Next up, the chip crisis is continuing for Volkswagen as they are not going to be making any MEB-based EVs in Germany this week. Due to a lack of semiconductors, Volkswagen has halted EV production at the two factories for the entire week. Because of this, an estimated 5,000 EVs will not be built in Zwickau and Dresden, including from VW, Audi, and Cupra brands. And last thing for today, Peter Rawlinson made some comments about the valuation of Lucid Motors. He said, "I think the sky's the limit in terms of valuation, but it's all about execution. It's all about execution, it's all about scaling volume, and that's my focus." However, when he said, "I think the sky's the limit in terms of valuation," this is just a contrast in terms of how Elon has operated in the early days and along the way. Elon has said many times, if anything, Tesla stock has been overvalued or too high. He likes tempering expectations, and Peter Rawlinson has taken a different approach. But that's all for today. Please take a second to like the video if you did. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.